Guys, we just finished the season finale of Peacemaker Season 2, and I'm not gonna lie, guys, this finale of the season was very disappointing. It was very underwhelming, and that's just me being honest. I really liked all the other episodes, but this is probably by far the worst episode of them all. It did not deliver how we all expected. We all expected big cameos because this was coming from James Gunn himself. It did set up for future of, the DC but that's what it kind of felt like this episode was, what it was about. It seemed like a filler episode. It was a little too long, even though it was only about a little over an hour, but it was very disappointing, guys. But before we get started with our season finale of Peacemaker Season 2, don't forget the like, subscribe button, turn on your notifications so you guys do not miss a beat on any of the movie news. All right, guys, we're going to talk about Peacemaker, the finale of Peacemaker, and I'll give you guys my thoughts of what happened and then just my overall thoughts on this episode and the season itself. Pretty much, episode kicks off with the flashback of the boat incident that everyone's been, Chris and Emilia were talking about. Chris has been bringing back the incident of them. They had a little fling. Pretty much they say they had a little fling on the boat. We kick off with them going on this little ferry boat right next to the shore, and they go see a concert. What they do, they end up hanging out, getting a little drunk. They end up kissing. I thought they did a lot more than just kissing, but they had a little connection. And then after that, we just kind of kick off where, Rick is working with Lex, which I totally think this whole scenario is a little odd to me, to be honest. Rick Flag Sr. is working with Lex's crew. They don't show Lex Luthor at all in this episode. It's pretty much that bearded guy that was in Superman. He's helping him find a whole bunch of dimensions. They're going through different doors, trying to look for different dimensions and trying to figure out, a containment center so they can contain, metahumans and other people and stuff like that on a different dimension. But I'm not gonna lie, guys, this whole scenario of them working together, I don't really like it. I think it throws me off a lot. I just feel like, at the end of the day, you're really gonna work with Lex Luthor's crew to just trying to find a different dimension. I thought it was a little odd. The guys are all laughing, making jokes. We have the bearded guy doing some illegal drug snorting stuff off a table, if you guys know what I mean. I'm not too sure what the guidelines for YouTube is, but yeah, they're doing a lot of that, trying to figure out open a whole bunch of doors, looking for a specific one. But Rick does not tell the rest of the team. He doesn't tell Emilia. He doesn't tell Sacha Bardot. And when they find out the right door, when everyone finds out what they're looking for, everyone kind of turns against him. When I say everyone, is pretty much it's just Emilia and Sasha. But when they're going through all these different doors, I thought there was gonna be more of cameos. This kind of reminded me of Loki and the TSA with those doors when they're going through doors, and it reminded me a lot of that, which that should not be a thing. DC should not remind you of Marvel at all, and it did remind me of that. There's a lot of things in this show that reminded me a little bit of, even of the Guardians of the Galaxy. But yeah, they go through different doors. They go to a place like, they go through different doors. They go through a place that looks like Candyland. They have these little minion, crazy looking things. They almost look like little Lilo and Stitch animated things. And when they go through this door, one of the agents die, and that's when Sacha Bardot and the rest and some of the crew is like, man, what's going on here? Like, this is dangerous. Economos had even mentioned it before, that this is going to be very dangerous. You're just going through different dimensions without not knowing any of the risk. And he mentioned that before, and a lot of people ignore him. Have been ignoring him. They're going through different doors. They even go through a zombie door. They even go through a different door where they see a black hole. That black hole is very similar to the one that we saw in Superman, where we see Ultraman pretty much die at the end, or go through, or fall into, that Superman throws him into. But yeah, there's different dimensions they're going through, and they end up eventually with one. They pretty much show a dimension where they come across is pretty habitable. They go inside, they open, they have these face cover, suits, so they can't breathe the air. Very habitable. They go in there, they come back to report Rick, and then that's when everyone finds out that, that is to prison metahumans. That's what it's specifically for. That's what he's telling everyone. And then Sacha Bardot does not like that at all. Then she slowly starts to turn on Rick. Then we get Chris gets bailed out of jail with Vigilante's money. So pretty much what happens is Vigilante's very sad, moping around. Then we get, ads. I love calling her ads. I really think that's a cool nickname. But ads pretty much gets, goes to him, tells him, hey, we need to use this money that you do not want to touch. That we totally get why you don't want to touch because it's dirty money, but use it for something good. And there's two things that they end up using it for that I'll get to later. But one, they bill Chris out. But once they bill Chris out, Chris kind of decks out. He actually feels like he is the angel of death. Everything around him dies, and I would feel sort of that way too as well. There's a lot of things that have been going on that that I think that I would feel exactly the same way. His brothers died in both in one dimension. His dad has died in both dimensions. Everything around him kind of sucks, and he feels very, very mad about it. But he ends up in a motel. He goes MIA. Chris, Amelia, Vigilante, and ads end up going there, and they end up going convincing him. They have this whole long, touching story about how they should still be working together and stuff like that, and they can do something good. We don't know exactly what they're talking about, what they're going to do, but we'll dive deep into it a little bit later. But then right when they walk out, Chris asks Amelia again, hey, did that kiss at the boat mean anything to you? And she says, Chris, it meant everything to me. Of course it did. And he goes back in his motel. He starts dancing everywhere, and that was a very touchy moment. And then we get with Sasha Bardot. We all know he's hooking up with Rick Flag Sr. Also thought that was just unnecessary. I mean, they could have just had her work for Rick Flag and her being like a loyal agent. But this whole thing of them having a small little fling, I thought it was just unnecessary. It didn't even make sense to me at all. But people forget she's somewhat of a cyborg. I'm not sure to what full capacity of a cyborg she is. But yeah, so pretty much, when she finds out the plan, she turns on Rick and she tells, she tells Amelia that they want to work together on doing a couple things. Amelia doing a couple things and actually doing something good. But Amelia tells her, hey, this prison is for metahumans. You're technically a metahuman. So pretty much telling her if they find out, they'll probably lock you up in this different dimension. So what happens is that, they get with ads and then they have a chat of a plan, which we don't find out till later. Then what we get to is pretty much the next scene is we start getting Judo Master. We get Peacemaker, Chris. We get, who am I missing? Langston. We get Langston with them too as well. Because Langston, we starting to feel that he was actually, even though he's a dick and he's kind of, raunchy, big mouthy guy, he also has a heart. We've actually saw that before. Ads, Vigilante, Amelia. We get actually not Sasha Bardot, because Sasha Bardot is only working from behind the scenes with them, but we get all of them, and I think I'm missing one more person. Pretty much all of them, all the crew, the actual crew, they're all working together in the office and stuff like that. And once they walk out, you see what they use this money for. So pretty much they start up their own agency called Checkmate. Checkmate is pretty much an agency where they do by right, and they pretty much I think they're like a defense system. They don't work for the government, but they're their own agency. Pretty much, this is I noticed it right away when they show that this is canon to the DC comics. This is very cool because James Gunn is a DC comic nerd, and then this was very outstanding to me. But when they're showing this whole scenario of it, it's all music going around, a lot of music of them and just setting up their office. It did remind me a lot of Guardians of the Galaxy. And for a lot of the movie, a lot of this episode, it was a lot of that. There was a lot of playing music over things that they're doing. And it just did remind me of a music video. It did remind me of Guardians of the Galaxy a lot. And that's one thing I did not like. And also, they have a whole scene where they're all walking together as a group, which is kind of cool because you can all see them line up. And I honestly do think, guys, that it did remind me again of Guardians of the Galaxy, because at that point, you guys seen the scene where the Guardians of the Galaxy are walking together and they have Chris Pratt's character, Star-Lord, in Guardians of the Galaxy 3 when they have Chris Pratt. I think it's Nebula has him in his hands as he's laying there. He's laying in his hands. totally reminded me of that. And pretty much you get the ending. I'm gonna give you guys the ending of this, which is very disappointing. This does set up the rest of the DC. We do have the ending of this where we get Chris is pretty much coming back from a date that he has with Amelia. They're back at the boat. They're actually watching the concert of Foxy Shazam on the boat, and they're having a great time. They're kind of a thing now. I almost wanted them not to be a thing and just keep it friends, but we shall see what they do with that. And they're having a great time watching this Foxy Shazam, which is, I think they do the intro for Peacemaker, the long dance intro scene. And they're having a good time, and he eventually heads back to his motel by himself. And the Argus agency grabs him, takes him, and then pretty much Rick Flag tells him, hey, remember you signing those papers? And he's like, what are you talking about? Then he pushes him through this door, and then you see that planet. Pretty much they call it Salvation Planet, which is a little weird to me. It shouldn't be called planet. It should just be called, I guess you could call it planet, but it's technically, I guess it is, but it's technically just another dimension. It's not like it's a planet out of space. Maybe I guess it all is different dimensions. I don't know. And he tells them, hey, remember you signed up for this? And pretty much they tricked him. I'm pretty sure when he got bailed out, they made him sign some papers. They didn't read through it. They tricked him, and they pretty much told him, yeah, you're going to be our test, our human test to see how much a human's body can take on this planet. And pretty much they lock him up. They pretty much leave him there. They close the door behind him, and he's locked in his Salvation Planet. I'll give you guys a quick rundown what this Salvation Planet is. It's pretty much where they send metahumans in the comic books. It is canon in the comic books. And, to have them in prison in there so they can never leave. It's pretty popular in the comic books. We've had pretty much a free-for-all teams kind of thing in the Salvation Planet, where you have like Joker fighting Lex Luthor, and they have teams, which is pretty cool. I'm not sure if they're gonna do all of that, guys, but yeah, guys, that is the ending for Peacemaker season 2. I'm not gonna lie, it was a little underwhelming. I wish it would have did a lot more. Rick Flag Jr.'s senior's character kind of remind me of a mobster more than anything at the end, rather than an agent. But I do think that they're eventually going to use this to trap like Superman and other metahumans, because Lex Luthor's behind all of this too as well. And yeah, guys, that is my underwhelming thoughts of Peacemaker season 2 finale. But if you guys liked it, did not like it, leave your comments down below. Peace.